places. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107.
Please press button now. No, number 1.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk here on Sports Talk Media Network. Thursday night, we have got a lot of stuff for you. Busy news day, and the sports weekend getting underway early here in the state of South Carolina, with South Carolina and Arkansas getting underway over at Founders Park. Tonight, the first game of a 3-game series between two of the top teams in the SEC. The Gamecocks just a game back of Vanderbilt and Arkansas for the overall lead in the SEC. And, of course, Arkansas, the number one team in the country. The Gamecocks are ranked pretty much inside the top 15 if you go through all the polls. So this will be a great opportunity for Mark Kingston and his guys to show the country, as if they haven't already. I mean, they've proven themselves, and they're stepping up, I guess, some in competition, though they've already played a Vanderbilt. They've already played a Texas. They've already played a Florida, all ranked teams, and they have showed what they can do. You know, even though LSU's not having a great year, they're not ranked, to go down there and do what they did, that's quite an accomplishment as well. So this should be a dynamic college baseball series. Now, certainly you know by now, but if you haven't, I'll tell you, they have moved up the Saturday game to tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. So ticket holders for Saturday, that ticket will be good for tomorrow at 2, a 9-inning game. And then they'll play the regularly scheduled Friday night game at 7 o'clock. All of this because of the forecast of really bad weather on Saturday in Columbia, in South Carolina. And thus, the USC spring football game has been moved to Sunday at 2 o'clock at Williams-Brice Stadium. All right, so if you hadn't heard that, the Saturday baseball game's been moved to Friday afternoon. Friday night game is where it's going to be, where it has been. And then the South Carolina spring game will now be Sunday at 2 o'clock at Williams-Brice Stadium, all because of the forecast of the rain coming up this weekend. So going to be talking all about that here on the program. We'll hear from Marcus Satterfield, USC offensive coordinator, as he talks more about his offense. And looking ahead to the spring game, he and Clayton White met with the media this morning via Zoom. I have to compliment USC. They did a great job. Steve Fink and his group, they did a great job throughout the entire length of spring practice for South Carolina of bringing us coaches and players on a regular basis, ad nauseum, you might say. We couldn't get to all the players and all the coaches that were brought to us over the length of spring practice, but it is appreciated. It's kept us busy and it's kept us informed, and that's a good thing. That's really a good thing. I think Shane Beamer is, at least right now, has a much more liberal policy when it comes to his assistant coaches and the media than his predecessor did. I know that assistant coaches are doing radio interviews and the like, something that Muschamp really never wanted his assistant coaches to do much of. So that's good. So we got Marcus Satterfield coming up. At the bottom of this hour, we'll have Monty Lee, Clemson baseball coach, with us. Things are not going well for Clemson baseball, as you know. 7-game losing streak, 3 games under 500. They'll try and turn things in the other direction beginning this weekend against Wake Forest at home. And we'll find out from Monty what he thinks is wrong with his baseball team and why things are going the way they are. Mike Morgan at 7:05. Morgan on the move. He'll have more to say about the college baseball scene, including South Carolina and Arkansas. And he's got an FCS playoff football game this weekend that he'll be calling. So we'll hear from Mike tonight. So we got a lot for you. Welcome in Chris Bergen and Pat Daniel with us as well. Pat and I are here at our studios in downtown Columbia. And Bergie is at Bergie Manor, the Bergie Estate, over there in the great PD. You listened in on Clayton White and Marcus Satterfield today as well as I did. And what'd you take away from what the two coordinators had to say about their respective units?
First off, I want to echo your sentiments about the media access that Coach Beamer has allowed his entire staff. I think it's wonderful. One thing, though, he's got to remind Clayton White is most media members are not math savvy. And Clayton White talked a lot of math today, made it awfully difficult. And actually, Phil asked, you won't hear this until if you go to our website, you can hear the entire interview from today. But Phil actually had to ask square rootage of 64 today. So there was a lot of math during the interview. But one thing I took away from Clayton White, he was talking about the RPO and how much it has changed college football. And I never really looked at it from that perspective. He said the game has totally changed because of the way offenses are run now and how defenses have to, and this is where he utilized the math, have to figure out how to be able to stop that. And he was asked, do you attack the quarterback and make him make a decision? Do you attack the running back? There are so many different things defensive coordinators have to deal with now that maybe they didn't 5 or 10 years ago. And I thought his commentary, and again, you can check it out at SportsTalkSC.com. I thought what he brought up was just fascinating stuff today. If you want to sort of get into the mind of a defensive coordinator and sort of the inner workings of setting up a defense, you'll enjoy it, regardless of your affiliation. If you're a Gamecock fan, a Tiger fan, Crimson Tide fan, whatever the case may be, I think Clayton White breaks it down to a standpoint that those of us who are just fans can understand how difficult it is now to play defense in the modern era of college football.
Yeah, and something else we talked with them about, both of them, was the NCAA. Excuse me. And you've got a rule change that we're going to talk about as well. But one thing that they are looking at doing is changing up practice habits for college football teams and eliminating some amount of the physicality that players endure during practices, reducing the number of contact practices starting this fall, eliminating such physical drills as the Oklahoma drill. And I guess there are others like that. Both coaches, when asked the question about what's this going to mean, basically you adapt. You adapt to the new rules. As Clayton White said, well, some coach will come up with another drill that helps with physicality until they outlaw that. So they will adapt. They will come up with new drills. And look, can we make the game? The science says, the data apparently says that a large amount of the concussions and the long-lasting injuries that football players suffer occur in practice. And so they want to address that to see if they can bring that down and reduce that. How can you argue against that? Will the quality of the game suffer if you don't use the Oklahoma drill or something like that? I mean, look, I've never played the game outside of the 9th grade, and you can bring in, football players like, I'm sure if I brought in Corey Miller in here or Rick Sanford or whoever, perhaps don't want to speak for them, guys that have played the game through their from their young days into the pros, they swear by those drills. The physicality, the preparation side of it. They believe in those drills. At least I guess they did when they were playing. Now, whether or not they believe in them today, I'd have to ask them. But I think, Chris, you'd find a lot of football players, veteran players who went through it who'd say, we're just softening up the game and we're taking things away that are used for instilling the physicality of the game. It is a physical game. It's a collision game, and you can't avoid getting away from that. If you eliminate these kind of drills, it's going to hurt the quality of football as we've seen it. And basically we're seeing football shifting. It's been shifting, continues to shift into practically nothing more than a throw and catch game anyway. The running backs are becoming an afterthought. Fullbacks are dinosaurs. Tight ends now, you just can't be a blocking tight end. You got to be a tight end that can detach and get out and catch the football. It's just basically becoming a throw and catch kind of game.
Well, and pardon the pun here, Phil, but I'm going to tackle this from a different perspective. I've never liked
just keep your head up when you tackle it.
Exactly. But I've never liked the legislation that dictates to coaches how they should be able to coach their team. In my mind, if you hire a head football coach, a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator, a special teams coordinator, whatever his position is, he should understand how to protect his players. If not, the results are going to prove themselves out on the field, right? If he works his team to death at practice, they're not going to be ready to play. They're going to be too banged up to play during a game. I've always liked it. Let the coaches dictate how things are handled, how many practice hours they understand what they need to get their teams ready. I get it. We've gotten much more science, and we're much smarter, if you will, with regards to how football and the effects of CTE and concussions and brain injury and all the things that we have learned over the last 10, 15 years. But I think coaches are that much smarter as well. And I think if you allow these guys who understand that I've got to have this team, whatever the compilation of players I have, I've got to have this team ready to go by Saturday. I think they'll do a pretty good job. They'll back off. They understand that I've got to have 11 guys ready to go on offense, 11 more on defense, and probably 9 or 10 that I can fit in on special teams. They're going to be ready to play on Saturday. So I've got to make sure of that. I think if you allow the coaches to dictate how they gird up their loins, if you will, and get their teams ready to go, I don't know where the NCAA needs to continue to step in and continue to hamper what coaches can do.
How does one gird up one's loin? Gird.
That's a great question.
How does one? I got to look that one up. Gird up
you strap
their
on your
loins
pants a little bit tighter. Maybe that's how you do it. I'm not real sure. I've heard that one time before, and I promised myself at some point in time during a broadcast or something I would get that in. I have no idea what it means, but it sounds like a football term, doesn't it?
Gird up their loins.
Gird up your loins and get ready to go.
Lineups are out for South Carolina and Arkansas, and for the Gamecocks, it'll be Brady Allen leading off, Wimmer batting second, Clark, the DH, batting third, Mendham fourth, Eister fifth, Seitler sixth, Burgess behind the plate batting seventh, Khalil eighth, Heinrich at third batting ninth, and Thomas Farr 2 and 3 on the mound. 1 point, make that 3.28 ERA. And Arkansas, they have a impressive looking lineup. Leadoff batter hits 320. Number 2 hitter hits 343. 311 in the 3 spot, and the cleanup 324. Then it drops off a little bit, but the weakest hitter in their lineup is hitting 255. Caleb Bolden will start, right-hander, 2-0 with a 4.63 ERA. He has 26 strikeouts in 23 and a third innings. He's only allowed 2 home runs, and he has given up 20 hits in those 23 and 1/3 innings. He also has 1 save, so he's done a little bit of work out of the bullpen as well. He has walked 12 in those 23 innings. So stage is set for what should be a great baseball series over at Founders Park.
And I've got a question about the pitching rotation. Now that both games, Friday and Saturday, are going to be played tomorrow, and the Saturday game presumably is the early game, does Will Sanders now start game 2? Or does Brandon Jordan start game 2 as he was scheduled to do so? Or does Brandon Jordan stay as the game 2 starter in the back half of the doubleheader tomorrow? Be curious to see how Mark Kingston does it. And will it dictate on how well they do tonight? If the Gamecocks win tonight, do they bump Will Sanders up and try and get the series win first at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and pitch the guy who's been lights out in their rotation and has the best ERA and best record of any of the 3 in their rotation? Does he pitch the early game tomorrow? Or did they leave him to pitch game 3, which would be the 7 o'clock game tomorrow night?
That's an excellent question. We'll have to ask after the game. My guess would be that you just stay with your rotation. It's 3 games. It doesn't matter, why there's a afternoon game on Friday, what game that would have been in the original schedule. So your number 1 man is Farr, your number 2 man is Jordan, your number 3 man is Sanders. Mm-hmm. That's my guess. And I think the mindset for Sanders has been, I'm the 3 guy. I'm at the tail end of this deal. And he would be opposing, in all likelihood, a pitcher of, a number 3 pitcher from Arkansas. So that would be my guess. My guess it will still be 1, number 2, and number 3, but we'll find out after the game. You've also today got Charleston Southern at Asheville and LSU playing Ole Miss tonight. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And Braves have the night off after beating the Yankees last night. Anderson was great against the Yankees. Just basically, of course, everybody is shutting down the Yankees. I think you or I could go out there and shut down the Yankees right now. Those guys, they can't hit a lick. Real problems, real issues with the Yankees right now. And the Braves aren't exactly tearing it up. They're under 500 as well. So they get the split up in New York. These teams will get together again in Atlanta later on in the season. Phone number 888-898-2525. We'll hit some of the headlines of the day, squeeze in a couple of calls. Monty Lee coming up after the break as well. Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk.
The lady in black doesn't age. She just gets tougher. And Throwback Weekend is when she likes to remind all the friends, families, drivers, and dreamers just how they got here. Business up front and parties in the back. Over 70 years of history held together with one famous black stripe. Too tough to tame? I guess you'll have to find out. Darlington Throwback Weekend, May 7th through 9th. Get your tickets at darlingtonraceway.com.
South Carolina is just right.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
The Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology at Florence Darlington Technical College specializes in sophisticated manufacturing services and workforce development training. The SIMT offers rapid prototyping, additive manufacturing, advanced machining, and business incubation services to clients from across the state and nation, plus social media listening services and rentals of conferencing and training spaces. The SIMT also houses an 800-seat auditorium, a conference center that can seat more than 1,200 for dinner or a luncheon, and numerous classroom spaces with state-of-the-art presentation technologies. Visit our website at simt.com or call 866-304-7468 for more information. The SIMT, technology to grow your business.
Welcome to Tiny Stories with me, Tina Tiny. Today we're with Dirk, a didgeridoo artist.
Sorry, just warming up my lips.
So glad we're wearing masks.
I won $4 on Powerball, invested it all to crowdfund my first album.
Wow, a whole album of that.
I'm calling it Didgeridoo-Da-Day.
You're freaking me out, Dirk.
This one's for you, Tina.
And that's all from the South Carolina Education Lottery. Tell your tiny story at tellyourtinystory.com.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Looking for the perfect golf retreat? Championship courses at an affordable rate? Look at Clarkson and Restaurant in Santee, South Carolina, located minutes from 3 championship courses. Clarkson offers customized, affordable golf packages, relaxing rooms, and great food. Visit clarksonandrestaurant.com to plan your golf retreat. clarksonandrestaurant.com, easy to find, hard to leave.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, if there's one thing baseball fans love as much as their teams, it's being on the water.
That's right, Phil. DNR wants to remind boaters to file a float plan before you go on the water this summer. Let family or friends know where you're going and when you plan to return. Be specific and always wear your life jacket. It just might save your life. Take a boater education course and have a great summer.
The future of golf is waiting for you at the Players Club. Rain, shine, or after dark, you can enjoy the game of golf anytime at Columbia's Indoor Country Club. The Players Club delivers the most realistic golf experience and offers more than 90 championship courses. Play or practice with the same state-of-the-art full-swing simulators used by Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Visit MainCourseSC.com to book a bay and become a player today at the Players Club, part of the Main Course, 1626 Main Street in Columbia.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Did you know that since 2002, more than $4.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund scholarships and grants for South Carolina students? Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at seeducationlottery.com/education. Wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. A win today for those who pushed and pushed and pushed Clemson not to cut the track and field program. Clemson announced today that they are reinstating men's track and field and cross country. Now, there were some threats of lawsuits involved, but they are not going to cut those programs. So Dan Radakovich made that announcement today. That's certainly big news there. And South Carolina named its new soccer coach today, just the second in school history. And his name is Tony Anin. And he comes to South Carolina from Atlanta, a 6-year stint with the Atlanta United of Major League Soccer. This pending approval by the Board of Trustees, which, hey, with that crowd, you never know what they're going to do. But I'm assuming they're going to sign off on this and let this go through.
Phil, one thing about the track and field deal at Clemson before we move further, did you realize this is the first time a Title IX claim has successfully resulted in the reinstatement of a men's team?
Did not.
Russell Dinkins, who was a New Jersey-based activist who helped preserve men's track and cross-country programs at William and Mary Brown in Minnesota, helped in this movement. And he said it's the first time that has actually occurred, and it's also the first time women have engaged in a Title IX suit on behalf of the men. So this is a big deal at Clemson to reinstate the track and field program.
Good move. I
agreed.
Now bring back swimming and bring back wrestling. SEC Men's Golf Championship. South Carolina sits in 8th after 2 rounds. The Gamecocks are plus 11. They are only 10 shots back of the lead. The lead is plus 1. That's Alabama. Arkansas is plus 4. The Gamecocks are 8th. And, of course, you're looking to get into match play after tomorrow's last day of stroke play, and the top 8 will advance to match play. And so South Carolina's right there. 4 shots ahead of Florida and Kentucky, who sit in 9th place. As far as the individual leaderboard, it is Spencer Ralston of Georgia at 5 under. He's your leader. South Carolina's low scorer, Jamie Wilson, tied for 15th at plus 2 after a 70 and a 72. More notes coming up. Monty Lee coming up. Right now we go to Stan the Tiger Man in New Ellington. Welcome in, Stan. Good to have you with us. How are you?
Man, I couldn't be no better, and I tell you, I like the Sports Talk show. That's Corn, Pat, and Chris. Just wanted to, as Stan the Tiger Man to you, Chris, wanted to welcome you aboard and tell you you're an asset to the program and like your voice, man.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that, Stan. Anytime.
I mean that. You know, I try not to hog the time. Sometimes I talk so fast, wanting to get through, I can't even get my point out. But Corn, so Celtics, I know you was ecstatic the other night, put it on old Curry.
Yep.
And then the Yankees broke through and beat the Braves.
Yep.
But what I wanted to really hit about tonight, man, I hadn't watched a whole lot of the women's softball, Corn, but I am ecstatic over them second year playing of them Tigers that put it on the first time playing Gamecock last night 6-0. That Cagle girl is awesome, buddy.
Yeah, Clemson in their second year of softball having a great year, and yeah, they beat South Carolina soundly last night, 6-0. So that makes the competition between the two. It's been a limited competition this year between the Gamecocks and the Tigers because of COVID, but it's 4-3 South Carolina with one more competition to go, and that's the baseball game on May the 11th. But I know, Pat, you keep an eye on that Clemson softball team, and they have come a long way in a hurry. Beautiful new stadium, and now a high-level team.
They sure have, and it just seems like another real-life example of the old adage, if you build it, they will come. It seems like that kind of happened for the Clemson softball program. They were able to get in very good athletes very quickly, and most notably, second-year freshman Valerie Cagle threw 2 complete game no-hitters last week. She's 20-3 on the season, also batting .387 with a team-high 10 home runs and 32 RBIs, including a 2-run homer last night. And she was just named both ACC and NFCA Player and Pitcher of the Week this past week. First athlete to ever do that.
There you go. Little softball talk you brought to us here, Stan.
Yeah, 16th in the nation. I was proud of them, but I watched a little bit the other night. Not a clear Corn. If you haven't watched none, you need to try it. They don't go but 7 innings. And, man, it's fast. And I watched a little bit of Georgia the other night beat the number 1 Oklahoma for the first time. So it was good. But I tell you, I watched the baseball team and the men struggling. Poor Monty the other night, we're watching the Georgia. He didn't look quite like himself. I don't know what's going on there either.
Well, he's
It's
coming
part
up.
of it, though, yeah.
He's coming up right after you. His words are
Okay.
going to follow yours, so you just stay tuned to the radio or to the stream, whatever you're listening to. And Monty Lee will be coming up right after this break. Thank you, Stan. And congrats to the Clemson softball team for getting a nice win last night. Monty Lee coming up after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear skies overnight, a low dipping down to 40. Tomorrow we'll mix the sunshine and some clouds. We'll reach 72 as our high. For Saturday, well, it'll be ugly. Heavy showers on and off throughout the day, a high of just 70. Sunday looking much better with breezy conditions, but plenty of sunshine, the high reaching 75. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hello, Midlands. It's Jay here with the Melting Pot. Here's a few questions we get when people call us. Do we serve only chocolate? No, we serve 4 courses, but you can get just chocolate or 4 courses of chocolate. No, you don't have to sit at a big table with strangers around you, but you can sit at a big table with friends around you. You just need to bring the friends with you. We also specialize in having lots of private booths with real walls between them, so you won't feel like a fish in a plexiglass tank. Come and see us at the Melting Pot, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Senate has passed legislation to combat the rise of hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. The measure passed Thursday would expedite the review of hate crimes and provide support for local law enforcement in response to thousands of reported violent incidents in the past year. The House is expected to consider a similar bill in the coming weeks. Police have seen a noted uptick in such crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders during the coronavirus pandemic. The Senate's bipartisan denunciation of such violence is a step towards legislating in a chamber where most of President Joe Biden's agenda has stalled. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 321 points, the Nasdaq dropped 131, the S&P 500 lower by 38. More details at srnnews.com.
So I spotted some cracks in the house, and rather than stress all over it, I just reached out. I called the folks at TerraTech to come on out and take a look. And they did come out, and they explained to me that fortunately, I wasn't looking at foundation failure, just normal settling in the home. That was a big, big relief. Now, I got to know these folks, and now I'm proud to enthusiastically suggest TerraTech as your source for foundation stabilization, for building or repairing retaining walls, so much more. I've been out to several of their job sites to see these repairs. It is awesome to see how they restore a home's value and give you back your peace of mind at the same time. I believe in their process. Listen, TerraTech is family owned. They're local, and that matters. For 38 plus years, matters so much to me. It should also to you when you're talking about your biggest financial asset, your home. So take a look at the house. See if you have any issues. You don't want to ignore cracks in the walls, and if you find any, get in touch with TerraTech. Online, it's terratechinc.com or call them 791-8888.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
I'm home. Is the AC turned on? It's hot.
I've got bad news.
What?
Our AC died.
You're kidding me.
No, but there's a bright side. Our contractor says Dominion Energy offers rebates up to $500 if we upgrade to Energy Star qualified equipment.
That's nice, but almost sounds too good to be true.
No, I checked it out. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
One thing you hear on The Point all day long, it's be intentional. You hear it from our local and national hosts, and I practice what I preach. So when it comes to my biggest financial investment, my home, well, I'm pretty intentional. I had Allstate Seamless Gutter come out, and they fixed me up. Think about this. You spend between, $800, $1,500 on gutters for your house. That's an intentional investment. It protects your home against so many things that can cost thousands. and thousands of dollars later on. Things like mold damage or foundation repairs. And while we're talking about being intentional, when Doug and his team came out, did the job on my home, well, we partnered up to help save you some money. If you call 833-5GUTTER, tell that point discount % off your gutters. Make an intentional decision about your home. Protect your biggest financial investment. They do great work. And you know, I won't endorse Allstate Seamless Gutter if I didn't have them come out and do the work on my own home. Peace of mind and new gutters at a great price. That's being intentional. Allstate Seamless Gutter. 833-5GUTTER. That's 833-5GUTTER.
All right, back on Sports Talk. Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, Pat Daniel. Some Major League Baseball, the D-backs beat the Reds in 10, 14-11. Pirates beat the Tigers 4-2 that final. Indians have taken a 1-0 lead. How many times have I said nothing by the Yankees name so far this baseball season? It seems like they always have a goose egg on the scoreboard. 1-0 Indians over the Yanks, bottom of the first in Cleveland. The baseball season is starting to become very painful for me here. South Carolina, Arkansas getting underway a little bit after 7. First of 3 at Founders Park. 1 tonight and 2 tomorrow. Clemson and Wake Forest. They begin an ACC series tomorrow at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Tigers on a 7-game slide and 3 games under 500. Time to get going as Coach Monty Lee joins us here on Sports Talk. We thank you very much. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
We're good. We're good. I know this is uncharted territory for you at Clemson to kind of be where you are at this stage of the season. I guess the number one question is, what can you do to fix it and turn things in the right direction?
Well, I think the biggest thing is it's my job. It's my job to do everything in my power to make sure that each and every one of our players understands that I believe in them. We're going to remain positive. We're going to keep coaching you, keep teaching you, keep competing, and that's really all we can do. You know, it's been a tough season. I think everybody understands that. Everybody that follows us, coaches, players included, we're all frustrated, and it's been very, very hard on all of us. But we have a wonderful opportunity this weekend to go play baseball, and we need to make sure that we come out, compete as hard as we can, and we'll see what happens. But there's not a lot, you know, Phil, that you can do as a head coach outside of, you know, don't point the finger, don't blame anybody, don't get frustrated. You know, just keep working hard, stay positive, and keep pushing the kids to be the very best they can be.
Certainly. When you look at it, though, from a performance standpoint, a lineup standpoint, a pitching standpoint, a coaching standpoint, and you try to identify what you have to improve. Is it pitching? Is it hitting with runners on base? Is it defense? Is it changing up the order? What can you identify as some of the main maladies of your program, of your team so far this season?
Well, it's a little bit of all of that, but I would say if you look at our team, we in the past we've been pretty dang good in close scoring games. This year we have not been, and I think it boils down to 2 things. I think it boils down to hitting with runners on base and pitching with runners on base. I think if you look at our season in a nutshell, it's you know, we haven't late in ball games been able to come up with that big hit with runners on base, and we haven't been able to come up with a pitch and make a play with multiple runners on base to get us off the field. We did that on the offensive side Tuesday night against a great pitching staff in Georgia. We scored 7 runs. We had a big inning late in that game, swung the bats well with runners on base, and did some great things offensively. You know, unfortunately, they had the last at bat, and they got some guys on base and, you know, walked us off on a hit, and it just is what it is. But I think that's the biggest thing, Phil, when you look at our team. It's just our ability to hit with runners on base and our ability to make big pitches and get off the field with runners on base. Feel like that's been, you know, probably our Achilles heel all season.
And from a pitching standpoint, the home run ball has been really harmful to you, especially in that Miami series, listening to your broadcast crew. I mean, and they're feeling bad for you too, but the ball was just flying out of the park against your pitching staff. What do you identify there? Just wrong location, bad pitch calling. What do you see there in those situations, or just you give it up to the hitters for winning those battles?
Well, I think it's I've always believed that an executed pitch is a good pitch. It doesn't always result in what you're looking for. You can execute a good pitch and give up a hit. More times than not, home runs are mistakes. It's really that simple. Whether it's a fastball, breaking ball, changeup, more times than not, it's just a mistake over the heart of the plate that the hitter can he sees it well and he barrels it up. It's really that simple. I don't know if it's necessarily the pitch calling or what pitch is thrown as much as it is just pure execution of the pitch. And, on the flip side of that, on the offensive side, when you get a good pitch to hit with runners on base, you got to hit it. But you got to stay in the strike zone. I think our biggest issue is we've been overly aggressive at times with runners on base, and we got to do a better job of competing with two strikes to put the ball in play with runners on base. So I think it's a little bit of all of that, and I guarantee you, if anybody's talking to our players about it, it's our coaching staff. And part of the problem, Phil, quite honestly, is the more you harp on these things, the more pressure these kids put on themselves to perform, and they are trying to do too much instead of just relaxing and just playing baseball.
Sure.
Clemson head baseball coach Monty Lee joining us tonight here on Sports Talk. And, Coach, your team has been besieged by injuries, especially early in the season. How nice was it to get Davis Sharp back in the lineup on Tuesday? And do you feel like maybe you're starting to get a little healthier that may help your team here down the stretch?
Well, getting Davis back in the lineup is going to be big for us because he's our best defensive first baseman. He gives us a veteran bat. It also gives us the opportunity to DH Grice more, and we can pitch Grice out of the pen more, which we need to be able to do that. We've only got really two go-to lefties out of the pen. We need a third one in Caden, and he can help us there. So it allows us to add to our bullpen depth by pitching Caden more, using him out of that DH spot. You can bring him out of the DH spot onto the mound, and he can remain the DH when he comes out of the game as a pitcher. It's a little bit harder to do that playing first base, where you go from a 10-man to a 9-man lineup if you bring him into the game to pitch. What we would love to have happen, Davis threw a bullpen yesterday. He felt okay. We'd love to be able to get Davis as well back into some capacity on the mound, because as you guys know, he was our Friday night starter when the season started. Pitched really well against South Carolina, and he's had some injuries that have kept him off the mound, and that's really hurt our pitching staff. So, there's a chance we might be able to get him back on the mound at some point. It won't be this weekend, but we sure would love to get him back, and that would be a big boost for our pitching staff if we could do so.
Coach, I guess at this point, regardless of whom you're playing, you'd love to get a win, but what are you anticipating seeing out of Wake Forest this weekend when you start that series tomorrow night at home?
Power arms and power bats. That's what they're all about. They got Ryan Cusick going tomorrow night. He's 98 to 101, guys, so he's got a pretty good arm. So right now, I just looked up some publication, had him as like the 19th best prospect in the country, which means the guy's a first-round pick. So, we're going to see a lot of velocity this weekend. Wake takes a lot of pride in recruiting and developing power arms and power bats, and that's what we're going to see.
Is there any panic within the program at this point when you think about now we're starting to head down that stretch and NCAA bids are going to be coming out here before you know it? In fact, the NCAA, as you know, is going to be announcing on May the 10th the home regional sites. Is Clemson planning to put in a bid for one, as far as you know? And then going back to my original question, is there any do you sense any panic among the players or coaches?
No, I don't think so. I think the worst thing you can do is panic. I mean, what is panicking going to do for you? Quite honestly, it's not going to do anything for you. If you're going to panic, you're not showing a whole lot of toughness. And that's the point. That's just the fact of the matter. Showing panic and frustration and things like that, that's not going to help our guys play better baseball. It's not going to help me coach better. The only thing I can control right now is that we play Wake Forest tomorrow. That's what I can control. And we prepare our team to play the next game on the schedule. And that's really what we have to focus on. If we start looking at the big picture that's only going to put more pressure on our guys and on us as a coaching staff. We're all aware of it, Phil. I mean, we all know what's at stake. I mean, we read the newspapers and we're on social media, and we know all about it. But the reality is, for me to do my job effectively and for the players to play their best baseball, we just got to worry about Wake Forest right now and take care of business in Game 1. Look, we've been very good in Game 1 here lately. We got to be good in Game 2 and 3. We beat Virginia on a Friday night. We lost the series. We beat Notre Dame on a Friday night, lost the series. Beat NC State on a Friday night, won that series, but lost on Sunday. So we need to play a complete weekend. I think that's the key for us is the biggest challenge we face right now. Let's play a complete weekend. We just got to stay focused. We got to compete. We got to be tough. Can't worry about all the outside noise because there's plenty of it, and it's not going to make us play any better. So that's been our biggest focus. We're not going to complain about it, not going to get frustrated about it. We are where we are in the season. Nobody is happy with it, but we can do something about it, and that's my job. My job is to try to do everything I can to do something about it, which is, hey, stay calm, stay relaxed, stay positive. Let's go compete.
And do you know if the administration's putting in bids for the regional?
As far as I know, they are. We haven't, I haven't had those types of discussions. I think, but I do believe that we have.
Yeah. Okay. What about capacity? I know South Carolina is allowing more into Founders Park starting tonight. What about at Doug Kingsmore?
Yes, I actually got an email today sent to all of us that we are going to increase capacity. I don't think it's a significant increase. I think it went from 1,200 to maybe 1,400 or 1,500. So it is an increase, which is great. So I think we're going to have another probably 300 tickets or so available for fans at home games.
Starting for this Wake Forest weekend?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, very good. And, watching the broadcast the other night, and Jeffrey Gilbert pitched a lot for you, and the announcers were kind of surmising that he might not be available to pitch if you need him tomorrow night because he threw so much against Georgia. What is his status for Friday night?
I think he's available. I don't think his pitch count was so high that he wouldn't be available after 2 days of rest. So typically our rule of thumb is an hour per pitch. I mean, that's kind of what we use when it comes to relievers being able to come back. And I don't think that Jeffrey threw to the point to where he wouldn't be available. Hopefully, but if we need to use him, we're going to use him as long as he feels good. A lot of it too. We'll be dependent upon how Jeff feels. I mean, he'll play catch tomorrow, and we'll see how he feels, and we'll go from there.
All right, last thing. Of course, you got help on the way with an excellent recruiting class, and football's helped you out as well. How much have you talked to Bubba Chandler and Will Taylor about their future with them being projected as first-round picks this summer?
Well, I think we all know it's going to be very tough for both of those young men to turn down the opportunity to play both at Clemson. I think that's been their dream and their goal from the beginning. So I think for them, for a major league team to buy them out of that opportunity, it's going to take a significant, and I mean a significant amount of money. Can it happen? Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the draft in this day and age, it seems like most major league teams are going to overpay for 2 or 3 of their draft picks, and then they're going to try to save money on everybody else. So there's a chance that both those guys could be first-round picks. So there's some organizations that very well could, pay them. But I think it's going to take a ton of money to get those guys to pass up an opportunity to play football and baseball at Clemson, which, as you guys know, just doesn't come along very often. You don't oftentimes see, guys that can play football at Clemson, that they're that elite of a football player. And guess what, guys? They're better baseball prospects. So, I mean, when you think about it, we're talking about 2 legitimate first-round baseball talents right now. These guys are certainly going to help us, and we certainly hope they decide to come to school because I'll be a whole lot better coach next year with them, that's for sure.
Monty Lee with us for another couple of moments here on Sports Talk. And Coach, before we let you run, just sort of an overview of the ACC. How surprised have you been with the play this season of not just Notre Dame, but Pittsburgh in particular? They seem to me to be one of these teams that's just come from out of nowhere. How surprised have you been and how well they have played thus far this year?
Well, they've done a great job, and both of those programs did an outstanding job of hitting the transfer market. You know, they've got some grad transfers and some older guys in their program, which helped them immediately. And but they're very well coached. Mike Bell up at Pitt's, a good friend of mine. He's done a great job, long time pitching coach at Florida State. And Link Jarrett, who I know quite well as well, has done a great job, you know, wherever he's been. So it's not surprising. Look, if you get some older players, you get some older pitchers in your program that throw strikes and know how to pitch, and they've got a blue-collar mentality, you can win a lot of baseball games. I mean, you know, from what I've seen, you know, in this day and age, you guys watch Major League Baseball, all the, you know, kids are trying to light the gun up and throw as hard as they can, but they don't always throw strikes. And you get a guy in college baseball that can pound strikes and you play good defense behind him, you're going to win a lot of baseball games in college baseball by just eliminating the walk, you know, the hit by pitch and the error. If you make teams beat you, then you're going to win a lot of games in baseball. And that's what Notre Dame and Pitt do. You know, they're not either one of them are very sexy or super talented. They're just super tough, and they play good, clean baseball.
Yeah. Well, I watch the Yankees. I don't know if that's Major League Baseball anymore, but
don't give up on the Yankees, Phil. It's still early. They got 145 more to go.
Can't hit.
Come on now.
They cannot hit. I've never seen a collection of billionaires who can't hit a baseball like this crowd. So,
yeah.
Well, listen.
Keep your head up, buddy.
You got
Keep
it.
your head up.
And
It'll be all right.
Same to you. Good luck this weekend, and see what you can do against Wake Forest. We always really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you again. Go enjoy your bike ride there through the mountains, the Blue Ridge there, wherever you're heading.
All right. Hey, guys, as always, thanks for having me on.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Coach.
Thank you. All right, Monty Lee. Appreciate that. You know, things aren't going well, and he could have just said, I don't want to do an interview this week. You know, we don't have him every week. We get him on as much as we can. And I like what he said, Chris. I mean, he's accepting full responsibility for where they are, realizes that as the coach, it's up to him to make the adjustments and get this team moving in the right direction. A chance this weekend against Wake Forest, which he said will bring a lot of power arms and power bats. So this will be a challenge. They can't just go in and assume they're going to walk over Wake Forest.
And I thought your question about is there any panic within the program was spot on, and his response was just as good, because at this point in time, they know where they stand. They understand they have not had a losing season at Clemson in 50 years, somewhere in that neighborhood, and they understand if they don't turn it around quickly, you don't have to tell the players this. Because as he pointed out, you start putting more pressure on them. Baseball is not a game that you can play if you're tight and pressure starts to build up on you. They understand they've got to start winning some baseball games. And this weekend, he would never say this, but this is one they've got to sweep. They've got to turn it around this weekend, starting tomorrow night, and find a way to take all 3 games from Wake Forest. It's the team they're better than. Even though, as Coach pointed out, they've got some outstanding pitching arms, but they are better than you would think roster versus roster. But his point about getting Davis Sharp back, I thought was interesting too, about how not only does it get him back into the lineup, but it changes their entire complexion of their makeup of their team. With Grice being able to pitch out of the bullpen some, and you get him over at first base, there's so many different things they can do just with the addition of one other player. And getting Davis Sharp back, I think, is critically important for them down the stretch.
All right. I appreciate Coach being with us and sharing some news with us about Clemson increasing attendance. I don't think the school's actually announced that. I haven't seen it anywhere. 200 or 300 more tickets will be available for Clemson fans who want to get out for the baseball games. That's good news. And Davis Sharp throwing a bullpen, not going to be on the mound this weekend, but that's the other thing. I mean, they're getting their pieces back. Sam Hall's now playing regularly, and Sharp is back healthy again, able to help in the field, help at DH, and be helping it on the mound pretty soon. So, maybe they're going to put together a nice run here during the second half of the season and carry some momentum into the ACC tournament in Charlotte, and that's where they'll make their news.
And he also brought up a really interesting point about them winning game 1 of the series and not being able to finish. Isn't it fascinating how much difference one game in baseball, in college baseball on the weekend can make? South Carolina can't win the Friday night game, but they're 9-1 in Saturdays and Sundays. They've figured out a way to win that second game of the weekend, and their whole outlook is entirely different based on one baseball game.
Yeah,
that's the margin of error in college baseball anymore. It's that slim. You've got South Carolina at 9-1 on games 2 and 3 of their weekend SEC series, and Clemson's been dynamite in the Friday night games. but they can't find a way to finish the series. It's just remarkable the difference between these two teams. And there's not that much difference. It's just the 9 innings of baseball makes all the difference in the world.
And you look at tonight's pitching matchup for South Carolina. I mean, you'd sort of lean towards Thomas Farr and his numbers against Bolden and his numbers. I mean, Bolden is 2-0, but 4.63 ERA for him. And again, just going on the numbers, not having watched Arkansas baseball very much or watched this young man pitch himself, but just on those numbers, you think South Carolina might have an edge. But I've seen this sort of matchup before, and it hasn't worked in their favor. The numbers don't always tell you the story when you get down to a baseball game and you start, throwing it up there. And was it last week, 2 weekends ago when the Gamecocks were playing Missouri? I think it was, and they lost that Friday night game. And the Missouri starter didn't have really good numbers, but he came in there and closed the door on the Gamecocks. Bolden is a right-hander, and his last start was April 13th against Pine Bluff. So, I mean, he's sort of been a midweek guy for them. I don't know that he has been one of their regular guys. 9 appearances, 5 starts, came out of the bullpen against Texas, had 4 scoreless innings there. So, does not look like he's one of their, for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they're playing on a Thursday, but they had their game washed out earlier this week. Maybe that's why. Maybe he was going to start that game, and so they're starting him tonight against South Carolina. So we'll see what happens.
And I would think it also probably makes it a little bit easier if you're Dave Van Horn, knowing what kind of offense you bring to the table, even with South Carolina's pitching, which has been dynamite on the weekends. Arkansas knows they can score 5, 6, 7, 10 runs a ball game. So maybe starting pitching for them isn't nearly as important as it is going to be this weekend for USC.
Well, the relievers for Arkansas are 21-2 out of the bullpen this season. The starters are 9-4, so they go to their bullpen a lot. They've got 12 saves out of their bullpen, so it's a deep pitching staff, and that's probably why this guy's probably just a guy that can be a starter or a reliever for them. All right, thanks to Monty Lee for being with us. Let's quickly go to the phones before we hit the top of the hour break, because we don't like to be rude and not get to a caller who wants to join us, like Dave in Lexington, who no doubt absolutely has paid the price. You know, like I like to say, Sports Talk, it's not a right. You're not born with the right to be on Sports Talk. It's a privilege that we grant you. So, Dave, you have paid the price. We grant you the privilege.
That's right. Thanks for the privilege, Phil.
You got it.
Valerie Cagle is going to be a problem in the postseason.
Wait. Time. Wait. This is a softball question?
No, I'm going to baseball, but I've got a friend whose daughter plays for the softball team.
You must be a member of the Clemson media asking a softball question. You must be one of those guys up there that covers Clemson.
Oh, no. But I love Monty, and Monty's got 2 arms tied behind his back in recruiting. He's doing a great job. We don't have the endowment. They don't even have the privilege that USC has, with the given in-state tuition based on out-of-state players. So I hope they get that rectified. But he's doing a tremendous job. He's got a bunch of very talented freshmen and sophomores. He's losing the teams with sophomores, juniors, and seniors. He's not in the transfer portal doing JUCO, so he's doing it the right way. And this team's going to be really good. So you just got to be patient. They're 1-7, 1-run games. So that last couple of years has been 6-1, and that's just youth, and they're just learning how to play in tight games. And this team's going to be very special, especially if they can get 1 or 2 of those top 20 major league draft picks to come.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Monty Lee. I don't even want to get into a conversation about Monty Lee and what he's done at Clemson. I mean, he's won 40+ games every year there except 1, I believe, and not counting last year. Remember, they were 14-3 last year when COVID shut them down, so they were on their way to a great season. So, hey, this little bump in the road, I think you nailed it. The youth of this team has obviously been a negative factor for them. They got youngsters on the mound, youngsters in the field. They've had some injuries. The thing that you brought up about the money and the scholarship stuff, that has been a a major bone to pick up there at Clemson when it comes to their baseball program, hasn't it? We lose Dave? See, he couldn't handle my hardball question, Chris, after his softball question. Gosh, we've had two people call up and talk about the Clemson softball team tonight.
He's right about her, though. She is going to be a problem for a lot of teams in the postseason. There's no doubt. But, yeah, Monty Lee doesn't need us to defend him. His resume speaks for itself.
Indeed.
He's done a fabulous job.
All right. Hey, coming up, we got Morgan on the move. Also, guess who's coming back for a visit? Bob Iback. So make sure if you want to get one of those Trevor Lawrence footballs that you stay tuned for that, listen to Bob, get the information, and get at it, and we'll be back.
Local in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Columbia's local talk radio experience. 107 The Point.
Make thepointradio.com.
The Point. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. The House of Representatives has approved a bill to make the nation's capital the 51st state. Spokeswoman Jen Psaki says the White House welcomes the House vote on D.C. statehood.
President Biden strongly supports D.C. statehood, and we will all, our administration, will work with Congress to get it passed.
Republicans oppose the proposal. Georgia Congressman Jody Hice says the D.C. statehood bill flies in the face of the Founding Fathers' intent.
They never wanted the seat of our government to be a state, and they specifically framed the Constitution to say so. And yet what the Democrats really are trying to do, that they will not admit, is gain even more representation by creating a city-state whereby they get 2 more senators.
The bill is expected to face tough opposition in the Senate. Senate Republicans have unveiled a public works proposal with a much smaller price tag than what President Joe Biden wants. Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey says the GOP infrastructure plan focuses on things like roads and bridges.
It consists of actual, real infrastructure. What all of these categories have in common are the fact that they are the systems, the platforms that we all share for the purpose of moving people and goods and services throughout our economy. That's what the American people understand infrastructure to be all about.
The Republican proposal would spend $568 billion over 5 years, while Biden has proposed spending $2.3 trillion over 8 years. To help pay for the plan, Republicans would rely on user fees and on redirecting unspent federal dollars. The Republicans reject Biden's proposal to pay for infrastructure by raising the corporate tax rate. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 321 points, the Nasdaq dropped 131, the S&P lower by 38. More on these stories at townhall.com.
A heart attack? He was 47. What about Janice and the kids? Do they have life insurance?
No. Call SelectQuote now and get the insurance your family needs at a price you can afford.
In minutes, SelectQuote found John, 45, in excellent health, a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife, Ann, 43, in excellent health, a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month.
At SelectQuote, we comparison shop some of the most trusted insurance companies in America to find you the best rate in minutes. And it's free.
For your free quote, call 1-800-644-1331. That's 1-800-644-1331. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-644-1331.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
For the first time, NASA is putting its trust in a recycled SpaceX rocket and capsule for a crew. Liftoff is scheduled for tomorrow.
This will be SpaceX's third launch of astronauts for NASA in less than a year.
We're flying NASA astronauts on a flight-proven Dragon and a flight-proven Falcon.
Benji Reed is with SpaceX. Weather forced a delay. Bob Behnken flew a test flight to the International Space Station last spring. His wife, Macon MacArthur, is on this latest flight.
It's amazing to think that I will be sitting in the same seat that Bob was sitting in when he certified that vehicle the very first time that it launched.
Japan's Ahiko Hoshide is part of the diverse crew.
We have American,
French, and Japanese astronauts on board.
They will be on the International Space Station for 6 months. 4 others are scheduled to return to Earth next week. I'm Ed Donahue.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The
A
Point.
social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Oh, you pressed the wrong button. Oh, residual.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Hello, they are underway. I didn't hear myself. They are underway over at Founders Park, South Carolina and Arkansas. Game 1 of this big 3-game weekend series. And so far, so good for Thomas Farr. 3 up and 3 down. Strike out, ground out, fly out. You can't ask for anything better than that. And economy of pitches for him. Let's see, how many pitches did he throw? Here we are already breaking down pitch count. And he threw, they don't even tell you. They don't
It
have
wasn't more than
yet.
5 or 6.
Couldn't have been too many. Yeah. So a good start for him. Got 1 strikeout and 3 up and 3 down for Thomas Farr in the top of the first. Now, the question is, can the Gamecocks muster some offense? That's been their problem on Friday nights, or first game of series, this being a Thursday night. Run support for Thomas Farr just hasn't been there. His pitching's been fine. Pitching's been good enough to win all those games. They just haven't had the run support. So 3 up and 3 down, top of the first for Arkansas. They go to the bottom of the inning, and we go to Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk. Mike Morgan joining us, brought to you by Stuart Wingo of Ameris Mortgage. You can save thousands on a refi or a new mortgage today. 803-319-1777. So Mikey joins us, of course, former voice of Gamecock baseball and I think women's basketball and maybe some other things. He's going to be doing a FCS playoff game this weekend with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. That means all that's left for you to do to cover the Gamecocks would be the Sumter High Gamecocks and the Screven County, Georgia Gamecocks.
Well, I didn't know about the second one. I was well aware of Sumter from my time in the Palmetto State. And while you joke, I wasn't the voice of women's basketball per se. I did do 1 year of it before going to the men's side. I had the second postseason for Susan Walvius. Got to call those games. Got to call the first game in the CLA when they beat Clemson in front of a sellout crowd. But after that, it was all on the men's side.
Yes. Okay. Good to have you with us. And you are gearing up for some football, but let's talk baseball because got the big series just underway in Columbia. I mentioned 3 up and 3 down for Thomas Farr. The Gamecocks, if they can get him some run support, got a chance to get off on the right foot in this series.
Yeah, that's always important, and I think Thomas Farr would be the first one to tell you he can pitch better. You're right, he hasn't pitched poorly. He's pitched good enough to win, but they need him to go deeper into games, which means throw more strikes, walk fewer batters, fewer 3-ball counts. He ran into some of that in the game I had last week against LSU, and of course they ran into a buzzsaw in Marceau. But you're always going to run into a buzzsaw when you're the Thursday/Friday night pitcher, right? If you're going up against the ace in the SEC, which is just almost routinely a future first-round draft pick. So you don't expect to score a lot of runs. So you need your guy to pitch like an ace. And right now, Sanders and Jordan have been a little more consistent. So I think it's a big start for Farr. And obviously it's a big series. That goes without saying. To win this series, I was talking about this the other day. Obviously, Carolina's not under the radar with your audience. But nationally, it's kind of they're number 11 in the D1 baseball poll, and there's not a whole lot of talk about a national seed, and it's kind of like, well, they still got a brutal schedule ahead of them. You take 2 out of 3 in this one, and everybody is talking about you as a legitimate national seed. So I think certainly a lot at stake.
Yes, I think you're right about that. Now, Arkansas is starting a pitcher tonight. I don't know that he's one of their frontline guys, just looking at their notes and what he's done this year. He's pitched out of the bullpen some. I don't know how much you've looked at this series in preparing to be with us and how much you have gone into the detail of the matchups and stuff, but of course, it looks like they have a very deep bullpen, and this is a guy that comes out of that bullpen and can be a spot starter for them. And is that what they're doing tonight? This is not a regular weekend rotation guy?
Arkansas might be the only team in the league I haven't had yet, so it's hard for me to say that off the top of my head.
Yep.
If I were to wager a guess, some coaches, even though it's still ample amount of rest, they don't like to take a Friday night guy and then pitch him on a Thursday and get him out of his routine. But I can't say for certain that's the case because I don't have everything in front of me. And like you said, I'm preparing for a FCS playoff game on Saturday. But that is not uncommon for some coaches to do. The theory being, we'd like our ace to go in game one. However, it's not worth it to sacrifice a day of rest and to take him out of his routine.
Yeah, gotcha. What do you think of from what you do know from covering the SEC and of course Arkansas having climbed to number 1 in the polls? Obviously, you've been paying attention to them. What about them offensively this far and the remainder of the Gamecock pitchers have to be aware of in this series?
Well, I mean, they lead the nation in home runs. I mean, so it's the long ball, and you're playing. For those that have been to Baum Stadium or haven't been, it's always been a pitcher's park. Although about 5-6 years ago, they did move the porch in from right to help aid lefties hitting home runs. But my point of bringing that up is this is not a team that's aided by a bandbox ballpark, and they are playing in a home run park. So to me, the key is simple on the mound. Other than the obvious, which I already alluded to, don't walk a bunch of guys. Don't give up. Don't serve up the long ball. Make them bunch hits together and put up crooked numbers on the board that way. But don't give up the 3-run homer to a team that is feasted on home runs all season long, and that's been their number 1 weapon on offense.
Yeah, you mentioned Baum Stadium. I know that's close, near and dear to your heart. I'll never forget driving home one Sunday afternoon. I think it was maybe a Saturday afternoon. You're calling a game out there. Not sure if Tom Price was by your side or who was by your side, but apparently you guys were having a rough time with some fans sitting just down below you. And the Gamecocks hit a home run. I think might have been a walk-off. It couldn't have been a walk-off, but a home run to take the lead or something.
Right.
And your
game-winning home run.
Yeah, and your words were, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Arkansas.
And the funny thing about that is I have nothing against Arkansas or their fans as a whole. It's a great fan base, a beautiful place to go and call games. It's actually one of my more underrated trips in my mind. But the whole story is we were in a booth that there is a luxury suite right below us. And of course we have to keep the windows open for our crowd mic. And we had the drunkest, loudest, most obscene Arkansas fans to the point where I thought we were going to have an FCC violation if they picked up half the things they were saying. So yeah, I got a little fired up that day.
Morgan on the move. Mike Morgan with us tonight on Sports Talk. And Mike, just from the SEC's perspective, look through the overall records. 6 teams already in the league with at least 26 wins, and that doesn't even include South Carolina at 24-10. Realistically, when the NCAA tournament comes out, how many teams from the Southeastern Conference do you believe are going to get postseason bids?
If I had to put my money on a number, it'd be 9. The record's 10, which the SEC has done twice. The ACC has done once. I would say 9. But it would really be, to me, the bigger story would be not the quantity, but the quality. So let's just say it's 9. Well, you say, well, that's been done before. I don't think the top 5 coming out of this league has ever been better. So that's the difference. That's what's going to get the attention on Selection Day is just how good the top 5 or so teams from this league are that are going to be headed to the postseason, most of which will be hosting a super regional. That is what makes this year unique. I mean, we could beat the SEC is great in college baseball drum every year, and you wouldn't be wrong. But I haven't seen quite the caliber of teams at the top that I'm seeing this year.
Yeah. And, we've talked so much about this series between South Carolina and Arkansas, and it's a great series, and it's number 1 team in the country and all that. And it's nice to focus on it and get excited about it. But, I mean, heck, they still got to play at Ole Miss. They still got to play Mississippi State. They still got to play Tennessee. They still got to go to Kentucky. So, Mark Kingston's approach has always been win that day. He doesn't look down the road. He doesn't compare one series to the next. But, you can't, even if you have a winning weekend against Arkansas, you can't allow yourself to exhale if you're South Carolina. You want to have that special kind of season.
Well, and they have drawn the most difficult schedule in the league. First off, they scheduled 3 on the road at Texas, and that's a top 10 team. I know Clemson is laboring right now, but at the time they were bottom end of the top 25 and certainly a formidable opponent. And those were 2 very competitive games. And then the Western Division has 3 teams that are having a down year: Texas A&M, Auburn, and Alabama. Carolina didn't draw a single one of those teams. That is unlike anything I've ever seen. Usually, you get the benefit of the doubt, the luck of the draw, and you get at least one of those teams. They got none of them. So, there's just they have not had a series where they could just exhale and say, okay, we should be able to handle business here and everything's going to be fine. But, look, I think this team is built for that with their pitching. The way you survive something like that, because hitting is going to come and go, the way you survive something like that is pitching depth. And that is one thing this team certainly has.
Mm-hmm. Mike Morgan with us for a few more moments here on Sports Talk. Mike, before we let you run, you've got an FCS playoff game this weekend, Jacksonville State and Davidson. How do you size that one up?
I think it's a little bit of David versus Goliath, quite frankly. Davidson's a phenomenal story. Here's a quick tidbit. Davidson's only been to one postseason ever. The 1969 Tangerine Bowl, the precursor to the Citrus Bowl. Davidson wound up losing that game. But that same season, I think their head coach was Homer Smith. That same season, they beat William and Mary. The head coach of William and Mary, Lou Holt. So it's just fun little tidbits you get. I mean, I love these games. I've been doing FCS playoffs for quite some time, and I can't get enough of it. Jacksonville State, meanwhile, I mean, they've turned into a behemoth. They should have beaten Florida State this year. A few years ago, they took Auburn to overtime before succumbing to the Tigers at Jordan-Hare Stadium. But they're one of the powerhouses at that level. They'll be one of the favorites at that level. That the Dakotas, of course, and James Madison. So I think it's going to take one heck of a performance by Davidson and their triple option to knock off a really good Jacksonville State team that has built a terrific program that just happens to have the same nickname that you guys say routinely on your show, and that would be Gamecocks.
Gamecocks. There you go. Bases loaded for the Gamecocks. 2 are out in the bottom of the first. So as we say goodbye, Mikey, some good things might happen for the Gamecocks. Winning these kind of games, you got to hit with runners in scoring position. You got to have some heroes with 2 outs, don't you?
You do. And the one loss that they had against LSU as good as LSU's pitching was, they left way too many runners in scoring position. That to me is always one of the biggest stats in any baseball game. RISP, what you hit with runners in scoring position. It sounds like they've got a good opportunity now. And now for the rest of the play-by-play, here's Phil Kornbluth.
And here's the 3-2 pitch. Swung on.
I think there's a cease and desist letter in your email box. Check it out.
Some old lady just listening to me just called her lawyer representing her organization, if you know what I mean.
Good enough.
You have a good weekend. Are you going to be on site or in the man cave on the Barca Lounger?
No, I am going to be in lovely
excellent.
Jacksonville, Alabama, where I reserve the final room at the Hampton Inn because there's a race in Talladega going on.
Oh my gosh, you'll be.
So if you're, I think it was $345 for one night at a Hampton Inn. So I'm not paying the bill on that, thank goodness. But yeah, I will be on site and looking forward to it.
Oh man, that's right. It's Talladega weekend. You'll be there with a bunch of your friends. You'll like that.
Mike, remember it is
right.
pronounced. And Mike, remember it's pronounced Talladega down there in Alabama. Don't want you to get run out of town.
I would not want that. I do not want to get an angry mob of NASCAR fans after me.
And just for your information, Seitler grounds out to first to end that threat. So the Gamecocks strand 3.
Well, that's anticlimactic. I needed something better out of you.
I'll see what I can do for you next time.
Thank you.
Have a good one. We'll watch for your call on Saturday.
You got it. Take
All right,
care.
Morgan on the move. Always somewhere where you want to be. He's Mike Morgan, the most mysterious man in broadcasting. Mike Morgan here on Sports Talk. Yep, Gamecocks got a threat. Bases loaded. 2 out. Neither 2-out hit. Didn't happen. They go to the top of the second, and it's a scoreless game between the Gamecocks and the Hogs. Good stuff from Mike Morgan. Really appreciate it. We are going to update a couple of things, and we're going to get Bob Iback on the line, I think, as well. Yeah, Go ahead. We'll get Bob on the line so we can hear him talk about these footballs. Yeah.
I actually have a story I'd love to interject, if you don't mind, for a second. Follow up to Mike's story about being out in Arkansas. Back in 2009, when Clinton High School won the 3A state championship, they had to go through Daniel High School to win the upper state, and the game was played at Daniel. We were broadcasting the game and actually in the stands. We were on the top row of the home stands at Daniel. Clinton picked off a pass with about a minute left to go in the game to seal the game. We felt like, Mike, whether or not we were going to be able to actually get out alive to the state championship, where they turned around to beat Myrtle Beach the following week.
Yeah.
And Everett Golson that year. But I've been in that scenario, and I know how uncomfortable that can be when you're the road team broadcast group.
Yeah. I think I was coming back from the Clemson spring game. I think it was a late Saturday afternoon, driving back, listening to Mike on the call. And it was just so funny because you could hear the Arkansas fans clearly coming through the mics, and you could hear practically everything they were saying, and they were, riding them hard and, vulgar to some degree, I guess, profanity, whatever. And Mike was getting irritated with them. And when that finally happened, whoever hit the home run, man, Mike just said, "Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Arkansas." You could just tell he was ready to, fire back at him. So they go to the second.
Worse from a Daniel perspective is that was the Duke Hopkins team. They didn't anticipate losing to Clinton that night either. So
who would? With Nuke
that
on there.
The worst. Yeah, no doubt.
Speaking of Clemson football, it is time to talk about the Trevor Lawrence football once again. Bob Iback joining us from blustery Chicago. I imagine it's a little chilly. If it's chilly here, it's got to be chilly and the wind blowing in Chicago, where the Cubs will try and beat the Mets again tonight. And the Cubs trying to sweep that series, aren't they?
I don't know if the Cubs. I think they were off today. I don't know if they're playing.
No, they're playing the Mets. I believe they're playing the Mets. I heard that on the New York radio this afternoon.
Okay.
I'll double check that. Let's see. Yeah, Cubs and Mets, 7:40. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that's good to know. I mean, it's going to be a pretty nice evening up here. We had temperatures go up to 60 degrees in the day, but of course it'll drop. And it'll drop by game time.
Mm-hmm.
But I know from my years with the Cubs, being down at Wrigley Field with the winds coming in off the lake, you never know. Some days, I remember there was one time I was there up in the press box, and it was people below, right behind home plate, were wrapped up in windbreakers and blankets, and you look to the bleachers, and the guys had their shirts off out there.
Oh.
So it just depends. It was like a 20-degree difference, honest to goodness.
Well, I got to tell you,
temperatures.
my son now lives in Chicago, and
Okay.
right in the heart of the city, and went up there 2 years ago before COVID to visit, and took us around. And one of the stops, of course, was out to Wrigleyville. They weren't home that weekend. In fact, that weekend was a concert weekend. They had the Dead was in town. Don't know if you remember that a couple of years ago.
Yep, I do. I do remember. Yes, I do.
And they were doing renovations at Wrigley, but we came off the train. It was my first time. Came off the train and walked down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden there it was in front of you, Wrigley Field, and I was like, wow, this is one of the landmark spots in the world. And
it's on one of those must-do lists. That you put out there in life. I know the first time I walked in, I had covered Major League Baseball for the Baltimore Evening Sun for about 9 years. So I would get to Chicago, but we were always playing the White Sox in the American League.
Mm-hmm.
So I never had the opportunity to go over to Wrigley Field until I was hired by the Cubs in 1981, the fall. I got out there in late November, and the first time they had already boarded up the entranceways for the exits, so you couldn't walk out to the field, but they had little doors you could walk through, and the grass was still green, even in late November, and it was just an amazing sight to walk into an empty Wrigley Field and see that ballpark.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when I came back in the following spring after spring training, to see the ivy starting to grow on the vines, it's very breathtaking.
Well, we couldn't get in the stadium because I had those concerts, but I had to walk around to the backside and walk in the neighborhood right behind, just to get the feel for what it must feel like to live there in those houses and walk out your front door and walk to the ballpark that's like 500 yards away from you, with all the great moments that have happened at that ballpark over the years. That's got to be too cool.
It really is. And, to walk the neighborhood, of course, back in the 80s when I was with the ball club, it's far different than it is now. I mean, that was a very quaint, old-fashioned neighborhood back then. It's almost like Disneyland down there now, with all the bars and the restaurants and everything else. They've really upgraded the whole area. It's far different than it was back in the 1980s.
Oh yeah. All right, let's get to the footballs real quick here.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, let's give them away.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were on with you guys earlier this week. We have sold probably half of the collection. We started out with 2,021 of these full-size Trevor Lawrence footballs made by Rawlings, just for $99 to benefit the Purple Heart Homes Golden Corner chapter, which is veterans helping veterans. They're doing a lot, making disabled veterans their life a little easier. Let me put it that way, by increasing their the existing homes, or adding on to new homes to make their mobility issues and their comfort levels a little bit better. So I'm really proud to be part of that initiative, and we'll raise a lot of money for the Purple Heart vets. The footballs are $99. They feature, of course, Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be the #1 draft pick next Thursday, a week from tonight. And I'm sure the Jacksonville Jaguars will be taking him. Everything comes with an individually numbered certificate of authenticity. These are full-size footballs, and everything on there is embossed. So you'll have, on one of the panels, we have a very nice color photograph of Trevor Lawrence, his stats. Another panel has the Clemson helmet logo, stadium history, championship history for the Tigers. And then we have another panel positioned between two orange paws that have Trevor Lawrence career highlights and awards. So, he was runner-up in the Heisman a couple of years ago, had an unbelievable 3 years at Clemson. He had 34 wins, which is the most ever by a Clemson Tiger quarterback. So if you'd like to get this tribute football, which also salutes him being the #1 draft pick in the upcoming NFL draft a week from tonight, Toll-free number to call to order these. Again, $99, and we're about halfway sold out. 1-800-345-2868. Again, that's 1-800-345-2868. And if you can't get through the phone lines, check out the website. You can order it there real easy at NICOsports.com. That's NIKCO sports.com. Again, the phone number 1-800-345-2868.
Sounds good, my friend, and perhaps we'll hear from you again next week.
Yeah, we'll check back with you before the draft. That'll be good to kind of catch up. And I know we've raised over $3 million in your area just in the last 4 or 5 years. So I do want to shout out to everybody along your network there, and appreciate a little support for things we've done in the past with Clemson.
That sounds great. Hey, thank you, Bob. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again. Have a great weekend.
All right, you do the same. Talk next week.
Take
Bye-bye
care
now.
now. All right, Bob Iback, I hope you got that information down. If you need it, you didn't get it, just ask us. We'll share it with you, and we'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear skies overnight, a low dipping down to 40. Tomorrow we'll mix the sunshine and some clouds. We'll reach 72 as our high. For Saturday, well, it'll be ugly. Heavy showers on and off throughout the day, a high of just 70. Sunday looking much better with breezy conditions, but plenty of sunshine, the high reaching 75. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Leongo goes shotgun ETN to his left-hand side. And they go play action, looking to the end zone. Touchdown, Davis Allen.
Hey, Tiger fans, it's time to reserve your 2021 Clemson football season tickets and come back home to Clemson. For details and more information, please visit ClemsonTigers.com/football tickets. The season ticket request deadline is April 30th, so be sure and act soon and see your Tigers in the Valley this fall. Come back home to Clemson.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Two of the nation's largest university systems say they intend to require COVID-19 vaccinations for all students, faculty, and staff on the University of California and California State University campuses this fall. Thursday's joint announcement from the 10-campus UC system and the 23-campus CSU is the largest of its kind in U.S. higher education. It would affect more than 1 million students and employees across 33 university campuses. Several U.S. colleges and universities have said they plan to require the vaccination on campus this fall. On Wall Street, a down day as the Dow dropped 321 points to 33,815. The Nasdaq dropping 131, the S&P lower by 38. More details at srnnews.com.
Spring is more than pollen season. It also means it's termite season. Palmetto Exterminators offers a free inspection at your home to determine any possible issues. Palmetto Exterminators offers the best termite agreement anywhere, but they do so much more. They offer complete pest control, mosquito control, wildlife trapping and removal, and nobody, I mean nobody, can offer you more peace of mind at your home or business. Now, how do I know that? Well, I never tell you to use someone like Palmetto Exterminators unless I practice what I preach. Now, I've been a customer for 19 years, and they are wonderful. My guy, Ron Byers, and his team over at Palmetto Exterminators, they've looked after my family forever. We have no pest control issues whatsoever. But if we did, all it takes is one phone call, and Palmetto Exterminators will fix it. It's pretty simple. Call Palmetto Exterminators and cross pest control right off your list of concerns. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net, or give my guy Ron a call, 254-5833.
Hi, I'm Matt. And I'm Mike. What business issues are keeping you up at night? Join us and other business leaders on The Brainstorm, Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Next Level.
Add some sizzle to your backyard with a new grill, smoker, or outdoor kitchen. From Bart Fireside, Bart has a huge selection of gas, charcoal, and pellet grills to choose from. Get advice on how to master your next backyard bash. They'll help you plan that new outdoor kitchen to help you entertain year-round. Make memories outside this summer. It all starts with a savory scent from our Bart Fireside grill. Online, bartfireside.com, or visit the showroom at 1131 Broad River Road.
Hey, honey, I meant to ask you, how was your delivery from True Pharmacy?
I am loving True Pharmacy. They made the transfer process so easy. They delivered my prescriptions the same day for the same price, all without the long wait.
Wow, that is truly amazing.
And when their technician dropped off my prescription, he told me about some of their other services.
Oh, yeah, I saw that they also do COVID testing and immunizations on site.
Same day deliveries, same price, and fast, friendly service. I think we found our True Pharmacy home.
True Pharmacy on Divine Street in West Columbia. Find us at truerxsc.com.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hi, this is Marcia Clayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for the Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on The Point for the Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Time for the recruiting report. Oh, by the way, Arkansas has taken a 1-0 lead on South Carolina. Gamecocks have 2 outs, runner on first, bottom of the second. Arkansas got a solo homer in the, did I say the first? Bottom of the second. Arkansas got a solo homer in the top of the second. Take a 1-0 lead off the Gamecocks over at Founders Park. Now to the recruiting report tonight, brought to you by Seawell's. Very best in the catering business awaits you from Seawell's. Just give them a call at 803-771-7385. Seawell's Catering SC.com. You know that for more than 70 years, Seawell's has been providing the state of South Carolina with excellent food and service, and they hope to keep it going for, another 70 years. I'm not sure if Cal will be around for another 70 years. Like to think he would be, but somebody will be around, and they will take good care of you. And, of course, the daily luncheon buffet every Monday through Friday, and they have in-house dining, they have pickup orders, and they have outside dining. It's 11 to 2 at their facility on Rosewood Drive across from the State Fairgrounds. On the recruiting side of things tonight in basketball, Ben Middlebrooks is not coming to Clemson this fall. He is going to come the next year. He's decided to not reclassify for the 21 class and stay in the 22 class. He tweeted that out today. Says he's 100% committed to Clemson, but just after talking with his coaches, for whatever reason, decided not to make it to Clemson now. So the Tigers have 10 on the roster right now. That leaves Brad Brownell with 3 Scullies to play with. Now to some football. USC's got a big recruiting weekend, June 11. Keep an eye out for safety Javonte McClendon, 6'2", 180. Lakeland, Florida. He confirmed to us last night he and his teammates, running back Jalen Glover and athlete Sam McCall, all of them are going to take officials with the Gamecock that weekend. McClendon's bringing some family with him. This could turn out to be a special weekend for him because he told us that he's not thinking about any other schools for visits at this point. He is thinking about making a commitment to the Gamecocks. On that visit, he and Torian Gray are very close. Goes back to the days when Gray was at Florida, been recruiting him for a long time. So South Carolina appears to be in excellent shape. He can play free and strong safety. They like how he is physical. They like his range. He's had USC and Miami as his top 2. He's also had Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Georgia Tech offers. So he sounds like a very solid prospect. Very good prospect for South Carolina, should this happen. 37 tackles last season, 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown, knocked down 4 passes, blocked a punt, 94 career tackles, and 5 interceptions, according to Max Prep's stats. 3-star in the 24/7 Sports Composite, 33rd nationally among safeties. USC's in the top 10 with cornerback Chris Graves of Fort Myers, Florida. The others are Louisville, USF, UCF, Florida State, Ole Miss, Miami, LSU, Iowa State, and Penn State. USC target defensive tackle Nick James has set up an official to LSU June 18th. USC target receiver Jaden Gibson, Winter Garden, Florida, offered by Auburn. USC target offensive tackle Ryan Brubaker, Stevens, PA, took a virtual visit with Stanford last night. Clemson offered cornerback Jaden Bellamy, 6'1", 175, Orodale, New Jersey, 3-star, 39th nationally among corners. Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Notre Dame have also offered. You know, Chris, I'm not a believer in the ranking system at all. I think it's a bunch of hooey. But very smart move by the websites to help get money from people. But I do mention it because I know that's what people want to hear. But how is a guy a 3-star when you've got Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Notre Dame offers? I mean, I go by your offers, your committable offers, versus what, some people see when a kid goes out and works out in a camp, and then they decide from that, well, this is how good he is. This is how we will rate him and give him this star rating. Anyway, I find that kind of odd.
Does an Alabama offer carry that much weight?
Well, I think in the minds of the subjective people who do the rating system, they do believe, a lot of people believe that they're influenced by what an Alabama offers you, or Clemson offers you, or Notre Dame offers you. That's why I find this kind of odd that he's only rated a 3-star. Not that there's anything wrong. There's more 3-stars than there are 5-stars out there. And you got to win with some good 3-stars. Clemson offered safety Marquise Lyman, 5'9", 205. Lyman, Lymon, 5'9", 205, Delray Beach, Florida. He's got Georgia State, Utah State, USF, Tennessee, Kentucky, NC State, Miami, Toledo, Indiana, Pitt, and Syracuse. And he's a 3-star, ranked number 48th nationally among safeties, had 5 interceptions last season. Clemson in the top 12 with defensive tackle Caden Curry of Greenwood, Indiana, Ohio State, Alabama, Arizona State, Indiana, Tennessee, Michigan, Southern Cal, Florida State, Oregon, Notre Dame. He's a 5-star guy. Another 5-star defensive end, Anae White of Philadelphia, has announced officials for June for Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and unofficials with Clemson, Oregon, Penn State, and Texas A&M. Clemson target safety Xavier Nwakpa, Altoona, Iowa, has set a third official with Texas A&M June 11. He's also got Ohio State and Notre Dame. USC offered 2023 athlete Nicholas Harbor, 6'4", 220 of Washington, 4-star, number 10 athlete nationally in his class. USC offered teammates 2024 running back Anthony Carey, 6 feet 185, and 2024 receiver Bradell Richardson, 6'1", 180 of Tampa. Clemson target cornerback Ryan Turner is going to visit Miami June 1st. In an update on top prospects at IMG Academy, 24/7 Sports reported safety Keon Sabb, cornerback Dalen Everett, defensive end Jihad Campbell are setting official visits, and Clemson will be in their plans. Campbell has an unofficial visit set with the Tigers for June 8th. USC target offensive tackle Leighton Nelson of Orlando has set an official visit to Louisville for June 25th. Basketball. A little more basketball for you. 6'7", one more football. 2023 defensive end Montique Rames II of Sumter was offered by Michigan State. Now basketball. Former College of Charleston star 6'1", Zep Jaspers transferring to Auburn. 6'7", Terrell Ard Jr. transferring to Presbyterian from UAB. Upstate signed 6'4", Jordan Gainey of Tucson, goes to school in Connecticut. Charleston Southern signed 6'2", Talik Chavez, a transfer from Iona and Garden City Junior College. 6'9", North Dakota transfer Philippe Rebrecca, who was recruited by South Carolina as a transfer, is announcing today. In fact, he may have announced, I'm not sure yet, I got to check, but it's going to be Iowa or Minnesota. No Gamecocks there for him at the end. 6'6", Jordan Phillips, I make that Julian Phillips. 6'6", Julian Phillips of Blythewood was offered by Indiana and Southern Cal. That is the recruiting report for tonight here on Sports Talk. Quite lengthy,
question,
quite meaty, It was meaty and juicy, wouldn't you say, CB?
Yes, I would. Much like the wonderful food at Seawell's.
Oh, man, meaty and juicy, unless you're into the vegetables where it's not meaty, but the vegetables are juicy.
The Middlebrook story. How often does that happen where a young man decides to reclassify and then jump back to his original class?
Really never heard of it. Yeah, really never heard of it. And to do it so quickly after just not only did he commit to Clemson, he signed. He signed an LOI with the plans to enroll early. So, second thoughts. Coaches said, look, maybe you could stand another year of development with us in high school. Maybe the parents said, hey, we'd like to have you around for another year. Sister's at Clemson, as a tennis player. I haven't talked to him since this came out with him. I'm sure it had something to do with the desire maybe to continue to develop there before going on to college. And he's changing high schools as well. And we'll be back after the break.
The lady in black doesn't age. She just gets tougher. And Throwback Weekend is when she likes to remind all the friends, families, drivers, and dreamers just how they got here. Business up front and parties in the back. Over 70 years of history held together with one famous black stripe. Too tough to tame? I guess you'll have to find out. Darlington Throwback Weekend, May 7th through 9th. Get your tickets at darlingtonraceway.com.
South Carolina, just right.
Membership with the Founders Federal Credit Union is a slam dunk. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 locations to see if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. The future of golf is waiting for you at the Players Club. Rain, shine, or after dark, you can enjoy the game of golf anytime at Columbia's Indoor Country Club. The Players Club delivers the most realistic golf experience and offers more than 90 championship courses. Play or practice with the same state-of-the-art full-swing simulators used by Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Visit MainCourseSC.com to book a bay and become a player today at the Players Club, part of the Main Course, 1626 Main Street in Columbia. You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
If you're looking for a great weekend escape, make for Santee, South Carolina and Clark's Inn and Restaurant. Santee provides the perfect backdrop for recreation and adventure. Clark's provides the perfect backdrop for relaxation. Just minutes from Santee Cooper Lakes and 3 championship golf courses, Clark's Inn and Restaurant is a short drive from wherever you are in the Palmetto State. Since 1946, the Clark's Hospitality has been making Santee easy to find, but hard to leave. Visit clarksinandrestaurant.com today.
Enjoy life to the fullest with tasty peanuts that pack a lot of flavor. When it comes to eating peanuts, the research is clear. Peanuts improve your health. Peanuts, a snack that gives back. Crack some open today for a nutritious, sustainable, and earth-friendly treat. Be sure to stop by your local grocery store produce section to pick up a bag of roasted in-shell peanuts. Brought to you by the South Carolina Peanut Board. Visit aboutpeanuts.com for delicious peanut-based recipes.
Hey, folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history. And with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/ Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
All right, Arkansas got a little something brewing. Top of the third, second and third, one out, a double that it looked like, just watching on television, Eister had a play on, but he didn't. They gave him a double. Second and third, one out. Arkansas is up 1-0 on the Gamecocks. Earlier today, we heard from Marcus Satterfield and Clayton White, coordinators at USC, leading up to the spring game on Sunday now, Sunday, 2 o'clock. Here is Marcus Satterfield, the offensive coordinator, talking about the offense, taking questions about the offense, and looking ahead to the spring game.
Looking at your wide receivers through this spring, what do you like best about this group, and what do you maybe not like the most about this group?
I think that we have a lot of guys that can do different things. I like just the versatility of the group. There's 5 or 6 of them that are working really, 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 really hard. I think I have no issues with any of them, but there's 5 or 6 that are totally different right now from a preparation standpoint. The way they attack practice, the way that they're in here watching tape, watching film is very, very important to them. So I think the nucleus of the group is headed in a really, really good direction. Coach Stepp's done a really nice job of getting these guys prepared. And I think there's some young kids that are learning. And I think these guys, these core guys are going to bring the whole group up. But I think that we have to continue to get better from a physicality standpoint on the perimeter, and we have to be able to win, versus press coverage a little bit better. But, as a whole group, I'm pleased with the direction in which we're going.
Also, Sat, I mean, looking at these guys, there's really not one known guy that, is returning. Is that kind of an advantage for the rest of the guys? Because somebody's going to have to end up, leading the team in catches and yards.
Exactly. I think that, they all see an opening. They all understand that, it's not just going to be a one-man show. We're not just trying to direct the ball to one guy. So that's a great point. I haven't thought of it from that standpoint, but there's a lot of guys catching balls and different, a bunch of different types of balls, deep balls, short balls on the run. So I think the group has a chance. And again, I just really like the work ethic and how they're working, and to play that position in this offense, you've got to have a nice brain on you, because you got to study all the different formations and personnel groupings and spacing and timing. And they've done a really nice job of that. And then Coach Stepp, again, just his first year in the offense as well. I can't commend him enough.
Coach, heard you talking about on the radio last night, kind of about, how this might kind of mimic what Coach Brady has done in the past and kind of what you want it to look like. In terms of that and the fit with the running backs, obviously you got a couple of guys that can play. I mean, how do you kind of envision that? Do you see it as a one lead back, mixing guys in? How do you kind of, envision what you want to do with that? And I know you got a while to make those decisions, but
we got a lot of guys in that room that can make plays. I think, everybody knows Marshawn, everybody knows Kevin, and, we got the young guys, Amos, we got guys, that we signed last year coming in. And then I think Z White really has just come on, and we challenged him first couple of days with ball security. He did a PowerPoint presentation to the offense. It was really, really good. Well done. And he's really, taken ownership in his ball security. He's done a really nice job. He's been very productive. He shows up every day. He's tough. He doesn't miss a rep. He's accountable. He catches the ball well out of the backfield. He's got unbelievable energy. So we're really excited about Z on top of the other guys that, that we have coming back. And as far as using them in the offense, I think that, again, we have guys that we can hand the ball off to 35 times a game. We have guys that we can throw the ball in the backfield and use as, receiver types as well. So I think the multiplicity of that group, I think, as you talk about, bringing our wide receivers on, I think that group, as far as getting your best guys on the field, can allow you to use some personnel groupings to get multiple backs on there at times, because they do catch the ball so well, and they are very explosive when they get the ball in their hands. So trying to mimic Joe's offense, we'll never do that. I mean, we'll try, but they had some really, 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 really good dudes playing that year, but, it's going to resemble it. And, the philosophy and the foundation is definitely going to look a lot like LSU did that year.
kind of followed up on that. I know quarterbacks are asked to do a lot in this system and a lot of reads and checks. And just in terms of teaching that, and how have guys kind of taken to that, and what is, at least from your side of things, what's kind of the process in terms of teaching that and kind of the philosophy with that?
I mean, it's a grind. It's day by day, especially with we have all young guys in that quarterback room that have never done this before, and so just teaching them, one, they have to learn defenses, and they have to learn fronts, and they have to learn like what a Mike linebacker is, and what a nickel is, and what dime personnel is, and what safety rotation is, like all these little things that you take for granted that I'm sure they know all that. You have to reteach that and start from the ground up. So that's been the first part of the process. And they've really, again, a lot like the wideouts. I mean, quarterbacks are gym rats by nature. They've worked really, really hard. They've grinded through the spring, grinded through some really tough installs. And I'm excited where they are from a mental standpoint. Again, each day there's things that happen that you just scratch your head because they are young. Right, but I do love the eagerness, and I do love the energy, and I do love how they're attacking each day. And I do see a lot of productivity in the future. I think Luke has done a really nice job of we're forcing him to not use his legs. If they get near him, it's a sack, and so it's forcing him to have to try to get the ball out on time and not take sacks and have to use his arm as opposed. We all know he can use his legs. We all know he can run. So I think that's been one of the really good things to to see happen and take place and grow throughout the spring thus far. But very pleased, again, like the other positions with where that group's going.
What have you been most pleased with this spring, and what's going to be your biggest concern going into fall camp?
I've been, again, pleased with, this sounds like this is not an arrogant statement, but we have overloaded these guys with information and plays and different plays and timing and all that stuff just on purpose to see what they can handle. So I've been pleased with all the things that they can do and what they've been able to do and how they've worked and went about their business. The biggest issue, I think, at any offense is you have to have really strong quarterback play. And we're so young at that position that I know that there's going to be days where we are going to jump off the screen with productivity. And like any young group, it's going to be up and down. There's going to be days and times and parts of a game that you're just going to want to pull your hair out. So that's what that's what keeps me up at night, is just understanding that that's coming. There's a train coming for us. There's going to be a lot of good, but we got to be able to handle and manage the bad and make sure that it's not detrimental to wins and losses.
You just alluded to it, how much you've loaded on to the guys. And I know when we talked to you before, you said you had installed a lot of your offense. Well, what percentage have you installed? And as a unit, a total unit, how well have they grasped it? And what kind of head start does that give you going into the fall?
We've got everything there's really not I make fun of myself when we put way too much in, but we put everything in, even end of game situations, final plays, we did 9 2-point plays today. So we got a head start on an inventory for 2-point plays. I think we're, just an arbitrary number of 1 to 100. I'd say we operate about 65 to 70% success right now. I think the ups and downs of the different position groups and the different combinations of guys that play in spring ball that may not play with each other when the season comes, I think the inconsistencies start to arise, but I know they're grasping it. They can sit there, and if you give them time to think about it, they can tell you the correct answers. But when you get out there on the field and the bullets start flying, sometimes it's a little bit of a slow response. So there's no way in the world we will ever carry this much into a season. Like, we'll take this and what do we do well, and this is what we're going to do, and move forward from there. So I don't want y'all thinking that we're going to take pride in having big call sheets and things like that, and our kids won't be able to operate and play. We're going to shrink this thing down a lot so our guys can go out there and execute. But again, it hasn't slowed many of them down.
Marcus Satterfield, USC offensive coordinator. Impressed with him every time I hear him. He seems, very much on top of what he's doing in building this Gamecock offense. And like Monty Lee said, talking about those players who might be turning pro, better players make you a better coach. There's no question about it. You can be the smartest guy in the room as a coach. You still have to have the players to get it done. So, again, the South Carolina spring game, your chance to see them for the first time, at least 15,000 of you for the first time this spring, will be on Sunday now at 2:00. South Carolina avoided major damage there when Arkansas was threatening in the top of the third, was 2nd and 3rd. Gamecocks got out of it with no damage. So it's 1-0 as we go to the top of the 4th. The Gamecocks just went down in order. ground out, fly out. So they have one hit. They've left 4. Arkansas has 2 hits, left 3, but has a run as well. So it looks like so far, for the most part, so good, Chris. Gamecocks aren't scoring, but they're keeping the game certainly within reach, only down 1 run.
Well, we speculated last night how would South Carolina win games in this series, and you actually believed it would have to be a low-scoring game. I thought they might have to outscore Arkansas, and so far I think your proof, or at least your prediction, is coming true, at least through 3 innings of play. Just the one gopher ball that Thomas Farr has given up, but otherwise Carolina going toe-to-toe with these guys. They're going to have to – obviously they can't win without scoring, but so far I think a manageable – deficit to this point. And Arkansas, they've had Arkansas on the ropes. The only concern you have now, Thomas Farr has thrown about 50 pitches through 3 innings. How much longer is he going to be able to last?
Yeah, it's probably going to be a bullpen game when you boil it down the last few innings. All right, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pat. Marcus Satterfield, Clayton White on the website. Coverage of USC Arkansas baseball will be on the website after the game's over. We thank you all for being with us tonight. Have a great night. We'll see you right here. Big Friday night for you on Sports Talk. See you then.
Weekdays from 7 to 9 on The Point. It's Kev and Brian in the morning. The news, the traffic 4 times an hour, and your daily forecast. Topics to wake you up, topics to make you smile and laugh. Hope you'll join us.
The Point. The